I've spent 20 years teaching people how to survive. 15 with the military, 5 more running Endurance Edge. I've trained soldiers in desert warfare, Arctic survival, jungle navigation, you name it. But nothing prepared me for what happened last month at our forest camp. The black pines of Whitcroft Forest have always felt different from other wilderness areas I've worked in. Too quiet, too dense. But the isolation makes it perfect for civilian survival training. No distractions, no easy exits. Just your wits and what nature provides. Day 1 went textbook perfect. 8 trainees, all corporate types, paying premium rates to learn basic wilderness skills. We set up base camp, practiced fire starting, constructed rudimentary shelters, standard first day exercises. It was during our evening meal when I first noticed something off. Chambers, a marketing executive from Chicago, kept glancing toward the tree line. Eventually, Martinez noticed too. "You see something out there?" she asked him. Chambers shrugged, embarrassed. "Thought I saw a kid watching us." I laughed. We were 30 miles from the nearest town. "Your eyes are adjusting to the wilderness," I explained, slipping into instructor mode. "The mind fills in gaps with familiar shapes. Tomorrow you won't see faces in the trees anymore." But the next morning, during our water collection exercise, Whitaker approached me, voice low. "Cole, there's a child at the edge of camp, just standing there." I scanned the perimeter. Nothing. What did this child look like? Small, pale, dirty clothes, just watching us. I dismissed it. Group suggestion. One person mentioned seeing something. Suddenly, everyone sees it. Classic psychological phenomenon. By midday, 4 different trainees had reported the same thing. Same description. Same location. Same child. I've dealt with mountain lions, hypothermia, flash floods, real threats, not ghost stories. But that night, while checking the perimeter before lights out, I saw something. A small figure, partially hidden behind a massive pine about 50 yards out. "Hello?" I called, switching on my tactical flashlight. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating empty forest. Whatever I'd seen, if I'd seen anything at all, was gone. Sleep came fitfully that night. The forest was too quiet. No insects, no nightbirds, just silence. Dawn broke with a heavy fog that clung to the ground like smoke. I woke before the others and found our training gear. Ropes, carabiners, maps, arranged in a perfect circle outside my tent. I'd secured that equipment myself the night before, locked in our supply case. "Just some trainee playing games," I muttered, though I didn't believe it. Military precision, that arrangement. No civilian would know to place things exactly that way. When I confronted the group at breakfast, their confusion seemed genuine. While they washed dishes, I discovered a perfect circle of small footprints around our camp. They appeared from nowhere and disappeared just as abruptly, as though whatever made them had materialized from thin air and vanished the same way. My hand trembled slightly as I crouched to examine them. Child-sized. But something was wrong with the gait. The spacing, like someone pretending to be a child. "Who would be out here?" whispered Martinez, suddenly beside me. "No one," I said firmly. "We're alone." But were we? That afternoon, during a basic foraging exercise, Chambers disappeared. Search protocols engaged immediately. We found him 90 minutes later, sitting in a shallow creek bed, clothes soaked through despite the water being barely ankle deep. His eyes, vacant, unresponsive. "He keeps saying the same thing," Whitaker told me, voice shaking. "About the child." "What about the child?" I demanded. He says, "The child knows what you did here." Something cold slithered down my spine. A memory fragment. These woods. Years ago. But different context. Military exercise? The details slipped away like smoke through fingers. I made the decision to evacuate Chambers. Possible hypothermia, I told them. Rational explanation. Martinez volunteered to drive him to the hospital 2 hours away. Part of me wanted to send everyone, but that would be admitting something was wrong. That night, I couldn't sleep. The temperature dropped unexpectedly. Frost in late summer. Unnatural. Every sound from the forest set my nerves on edge. Wind through branches became whispers. Distant twigs breaking became footsteps. At 3:17 a.m., I remember checking my watch. Something unzipped my tent from outside. Slowly, deliberately. I lay frozen, combat knife in hand, heart hammering against my ribs. But nothing entered. After 10 minutes of paralyzed waiting, I finally looked out. Small muddy handprints marked the tent fabric, and my field journal lay open on the ground outside, a crude drawing scratched onto a blank page. A military formation. 12 men, 5 years ago. Operation Blackwood. I hadn't thought about that had deliberately not thought about. The memory hit like a physical blow. 5 years ago, same forest, classified training operation. We were testing new navigation equipment when the storm rolled in around 4 a.m., unnaturally fierce. I woke the remaining trainees at first light. "We're evacuating," I announced, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "Weather's turning dangerous." They didn't argue. They'd felt it too, the wrongness in these woods. I made calls, arranged transport, told them I'd stay behind to secure the expensive equipment. A lie. I had to understand what was happening. As their vehicles disappeared down the access road, the rain began. Heavy, cold, the kind that seeps into your bones. I checked my weapon, old habit, and headed into the forest, toward the place I'd been avoiding. The place I suddenly remembered with perfect, terrible clarity. 5 years ago. Operation Blackwood. 12 men testing classified equipment. The local search party looking for a missing child. The orders from command to withdraw immediately. The cover-up. The child had vanished in these woods during our operation. We were ordered to stand down, to not participate in the search, to forget what we might have seen. Had I seen something? The memory danced at the edges of my consciousness, teasing, retreating. An hour into my hike, the rain became a deluge. Visibility dropped to meters. But there, between the trees, a small figure, watching me, not running this time. "Who are you?" I called, my voice nearly lost in the storm. The child turned, walked deeper into the forest. I followed. I had to follow. The trees grew denser, disorienting. My training told me I was walking in circles, but somehow I knew I was being led somewhere specific. Then the forest opened into a small clearing. I recognized it instantly, though we'd been careful to leave no trace. Command post. Operation Blackwood. The child stood in the center, rain passing through its form as if... "What do you want from me?" I whispered. The ground beneath my feet transformed. No longer forest floor, but disturbed earth. A shallow depression, rectangular, small. Oh God, so small. And I remembered. The night sounds, the investigation, finding the child near our operation, the accident, the orders, the shovel in my hands. The weight of responsibility divided 12 ways, becoming weightless, deniable. "I didn't know," I said, rain and tears mixing on my face. "They told us you'd been found safe, that the family had been compensated, that it never happened." The child's form flickered like bad reception, its eyes, hollow yet accusing, fixed on mine. "I came back," I realized aloud. "I chose these woods for my camp. Why did I choose these exact woods?" The storm reached its crescendo. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the clearing in stark white. In that flash, I saw not a child, but something else, wearing the shape of a child. Something ancient and patient that had waited 5 years for me to return. For us all to return. The 12th. It had begun with me. It pointed a small, distorted finger at the depression in the earth, at what lay beneath. Evidence. Truth. Justice. I understood then. It wasn't vengeance it wanted. It was acknowledgement. To be found. To be known. I fell to my knees in the mud, rain pounding my back. I'll tell them, I promised. I'll tell them everything. What we did. What I did. Lightning struck again, closer. The forest around me seemed to breathe. Inhalation, exhalation. The small figure stepped toward me, its form shifting between child and something else. Something older than the forest itself that had taken the child's cause as its own. It reached for me with two long fingers. I don't remember what happened next. They found me 3 days later, wandering the access road, clothes caked with mud, babbling about a child in the woods. The official investigation is ongoing. They found something in that clearing. The case of the missing child has been reopened. My fellow soldiers from Operation Blackwood have all received the same visit, I'm told, each in their own way. Some didn't survive the encounter. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still see it. Not the child, but what used to be the child. What the forest made from grief and injustice. Watching. Always watching. And I know it isn't finished with us yet.